Welcome. I'm Delia Clark, and I'm a place-based education consultant working with the Iditarod Historic Trail Alliance in partnership with the Chugach National Forest, BLM Campbell Creek Science Center, and the Anchorage Park Foundation. In normal years, we offer the iTrek program as an 11-day in-person teacher professional development program spread across a year. We encourage teachers to think about how they can connect to place, bring their students outside more, bring outside resources into the classroom, and how they can connect with the Iditarod Trail and the Alaskan cultural and natural landscape. During the pandemic, we are offering some of the core elements of iTrek as a webinar series to continue to serve Alaskan educators in ways that we hope are valuable to you. We hope that you're able to use the information you get today to encourage your kids to get outside and know more about the nature and culture of Alaska. We'll be offering this series throughout the school year, and we hope you're able to attend more. If you're interested in receiving one UAA credit for participating in this series, or to receive a flyer listing the full series, please contact us at itrekalaska@gmail.com. So ITREC alaska@gmail.com. And happy to be here. Let's see. So if you could type your name and where you're from in the chat, that would be wonderful. And tonight's session is going to focus on an introduction to questing. In the last session we introduced questing, and this is questing 1, which is, I kept the name the same. Before we begin, if you can, please mute your audio when you're not speaking, and if possible, turn on your video when you are speaking so we can see everybody. If you want to use the chat feature, that's a good way to ask questions or share ideas with the rest of the group. This is a small group, so it's probably okay just to raise your hand, but if you use the raise hand feature in Zoom, which is in the reactions down in the bottom toolbar, that'll raise you to the top of the list, so I'll see you. I'm more likely to see your hand if you do it that way. We are recording. I thought we were recording. Doesn't look like we actually are. That's good. Let me just make sure before we go any further that we are recording.
Delia, I see that we're recording.
Okay, good. So good. Today I'm going to do an overview of questing for people who weren't able to come last time, and then talk some about the origins of questing, and how, when you're developing a quest with your students as a gift to the community, how you choose the key points that you might want to share, talk some about teaching your students rhyme and meter, and share some resources. So for people who weren't here at the last session, I just want to quickly talk about what a quest is. It's a treasure hunt, basically, that helps, that's a way, usually they're developed by students, and they're a way for students to do a service for their community and get people out exploring the landscape and learning about it and getting outside and having a lot of fun in the process. You're looking at one that was made on the island of Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts, and then one that was made in Anchorage on the Campbell Track. So sometimes quests are made by educators as a teaching tool. Sometimes they're made by students as a community service. Just want to kind of give an overview of what quests are. I think of them as a structured exploration of special places. So they're a way to kind of explore nature and culture with a local guide. They might be about local heroes. They might be about local ecology. They might be about a stream or a river. They might be about traditions. They might be about history. There are all kinds of ways of telling local stories while you're out exploring. They often have playful rhyming clues. They don't have to. Sometimes they're more written in prose. There's some that are written in haiku. They've got all kinds of formats. This one is the Athabascan Trail Quest that was made by a teacher working with fifth grade students down in Girdwood, and I'll just read it aloud. At the end of the bridge by the beaver pond sign, the trail will split in two. Take the one that's by the stream where you may see the morning dew. Dew is a thing wet like rain, but it doesn't fall from the sky. Instead, it's the water from the air that sticks to everything dry. I really like that line a lot. It's sort of explanation of what dew is. This last little bit is nice too. Continue up the slope until you come upon a clump of 5 trees. There you'll see a stump with moss and little leaves. Go to the bridge, be careful it's slick, walk past the Devil's Club, but do not get a prick. Little safety message there about being careful, which is nice. I like it when quests act as if you actually had a short little guide leading you through the woods and telling you to be careful and noticing what you might not see. And that's a nice thing that this does. I do think it's important to think about whether quests sound like they were written by children, or which is fine, but the clarity of whether are your students going to sound authentic or are they going to sound polished, in which case adults might help with language, that kind of thing. You can talk with your students about what you're looking to create. Quests often have artful and attractive maps. I'm not sure that this map I'm showing you is either of those two things, but it is informative. This map leads you through numbers. You're going from 1 to 2 to 3. It goes through a small town, and the buildings are actually pretty accurate on this map. That's actually what the buildings look like where they are. So it's a useful way to get you around. I also did think that the compass rose on this map was pretty fun because it's taking you to a farm. Another thing that quests are is a learning opportunity doubly. Learning opportunity times 2, because the people who make the quest learn all about, they do pretty extensive research depending on the grade level and learn about their community, whether it's, as I said, about history or science or whatever they're learning about. And they make this quest, and then it's a learning opportunity for the people who go on it. So as you go out, whether families are going on quests or tourists, or I knew a guy who literally came and spent a weekend, and there are a lot of quests in my town, and he and his wife went on I think 5 quests on their honeymoon, which I thought was like, but not what everyone does on their honeymoon. But it's interesting to think that they can be really recreational for the people who go on them. They're not just a learning opportunity for the people who make them. The quests originated with a colleague of mine, David Sobel, was doing a sabbatical, walking around Dartmoor in England, and he saw all these people. He's walking around, he said, with the intensity of Eagle Scouts all over the moors with these little tattered bits of paper, and he couldn't figure out what they were doing. And he finally came up and asked them, and it turns out that they've been making quests in Dartmoor for over 50 years. There's a whole cottage industry that's sprung up. You can see in the right-hand image here of carving rubber stamps, because in Dartmoor you follow these obscure clues. You find a box that's hidden. Usually it looks like an old ice cream container, or they used to use old ammo boxes. And inside is a notebook, and in the notebook you write your date, your name, and you put your personal stamp. So I think it's funny that this person is called Pensioned Plodder. That's like their handle that they use when they go out and solve these. These guys are called the yokels, which I think is fun. So people really get into doing this, and they have a stamp, and there's also a rubber stamp in the box. So you collect an impression of that stamp as well. So you leave a stamp, take a stamp, and go out and try and do more and more. The program that I helped create, when you get 100 stamps from 100 different quests, you can send in a Xerox of them and get or a photo of them and get a patch, a beautiful, colorful patch. So after David sort of saw people doing questing in Dartmoor, they called it letterboxing. He came back, and in the upper valley of Vermont and New Hampshire, we took that idea and tried to created Valley Quest. And so Valley Quest is a program that and engages people from all around the whole region. It's about 80 small towns up and down the Upper Valley, Connecticut River Valley of Vermont, New Hampshire, and creating quests. By far, the majority are made by school groups, but some are made by historical societies, environmental ed centers, places like that who want to use them as teaching tools. They're published in books like this. They also obviously are published online, so people can get access to them that way. They're all maintained by volunteers who oftentimes are parents of school kids, but sometimes, as I said, members of local clubs and that kind of thing. And they go out and once a year check the boxes to make sure the ink pad is stamped up and all that kind of stuff, and take out the login books and put a new one in each spring. Some of the quests are seasonal. So for example, they go out oftentimes on Earth Day and come in at around Thanksgiving. Depends on when the snows come where you are. Some of them are year round. There's one that I know of that's actually in a library, and it's in it's a quest all through the reference area of that library, so that you're as you go from public book to public book, you're solving these clues, and once you've solved them, you've identified this one book on the shelf and take it off, and it's been carved out, and there's a box inside, all approved by the public library. So it's a decoy book that has the rubber stamp and the sign-in book and that kind of thing. So they're and then some of them have it very seasonal specific, just during fly fishing season, or there's a ritual in a town near where I live called the strolling of the heifers, that happens once a year when all the different farmers bring their young heifers and stroll them down Main Street. So there's a strolling of the heifers quest, which was made by a sixth grade class in that town. So I wanted to talk. I mentioned this already, but there are a couple different ways that quests are used. Sometimes they're made by students as a service learning project, basically, or as a service project to their community. And there are a bunch of that I've listed here that have been made in Alaska, like that fall into both categories. This Universal Alaska Quest, I love the name, Finding Peace in Your Own Backyard, was made by a 4th, 5th grade group at the Polaris School in Anchorage, and it's actually, they call it a Universal Alaska Quest because it's not place specific. You can do it anywhere in Alaska. So if you look at the pages, it tells you to find a tall mountain, and if you did that kind of thing, stuff that you could find anywhere, and then or find a scientific illustration or find something like that, and you can learn about those things as you go. Sand Lake Elementary Recycled Art Quest is a quest through the recycled art exhibit that was at Sand Lake Elementary School. So it takes you all through the halls and shows you all the different art that was there. But others, for example, the Campbell Track Quest and the Denali Quest were made by educators so that you could bring your school group and go on that quest as a way of learning more about it. This is an example. This is the Denali Quest. That was made by National Park Service interpreters up at Denali after participating in a questing workshop that we did in Talkeetna. So you can kind of see that it's actually a pretty ambitious walk if you follow the quest route through all these numbers, and then at each of the different stops you have a chance to learn about something else. So day length, park history, northern lights, whatever. I like that it's filled with fun facts, and it's nice that it gives you both a teaching clue and a movement clue. So this is the teaching clue, for example, about winter activities. This is the movement clue that leads you to the next place. So, and if you look at those in conjunction with the map, they'll get you where you need to go. Unlike a lot of other quests, this one doesn't have you collecting letters or numbers or something like that to pull something together. So there are a million kinds of quests, and they're all pretty fun. I just wanted to mention that the idea of questing has really caught on. And these are two that book I'll show you in a minute that I co-authored on questing has been translated into Czech in this beautiful edition. It's way nicer than the original. Sort of jealous because it's all filled with color pictures and just a beautiful, beautiful book using all the quests that they've written nationally in the Czech Republic, as is this questing book in Poland. The idea of going out around a landscape and following clues and learning about history and learning about nature is very attractive in Central Europe. It fits right into the culture. So it's something that's become really popular there. And I think my experience is that that's played well in New England and in Alaska as well. There are also quests that I've been part of in all up and down the Appalachian Trail from down as far south as Georgia. There are a lot of them in Virginia, and then there are a bunch that are on the West Coast, Crissy Field, Muir Woods, that kind of thing. So there's it's been a movement that's informally grown and has attracted people who like to do these when they travel. I'm wondering if you could enter into the chat anytime have you ever been on either a quest or a treasure hunt, even like a treasure hunt at a birthday party? I'm wondering what experience you might have had with anything, any version of going out onto the landscape and searching for clues, even if it's when you were 5 and you went to a birthday party. So if you take a chance to enter that into chat, that would be great. So Molly's been geocaching. Geocaching is a really interesting kissing cousin of questing, and in fact, they're kind of co-developed. And I know that the Geocache National site has some quests on it, so they've even shared some of those things. Geocaching is more compass based, so you're using compass skills, which can be really nice, and some quests have that as well. And going out and learning about things. Geocaches often have caches, meaning a little place that you might pick up a coin or a plastic animal or a CD or something like that, and take something and leave something. So that's a fun element that a lot of kids are attracted to. Thanks, Molly. I wanted to talk a little bit about these kissing cousins that I mentioned. I'm just going to focus on one. I think we've all been on some kind of treasure hunt, letterbox, geocache, whatever. But I wanted to talk about Tracking the Dragon, which is a program that I stumbled across and just really enjoy. It's in Washington State. And it's, as you can see here, it's East Jefferson County. And these folks put together a year-long treasure hunt. They publish the clues in all the local newspapers once a month. And families or some, school groups or anybody who wanted to groups of adult friends could go out tracking the dragon, and once a month get their things and try to follow the clues. And as you can see in this map, the clues led you from the very tip top of the watershed all the way down to the sound. So it was sort of, you learned the watershed, you walked the watershed as you track the dragon. Something that they did that I thought was really cool was this book that you got told, and they put it all together after they did the monthly things. Ooh, whoops. Taught a lot of things, and then along the bottom you can see line of foam through. It's there were some bits of a poem, and by the end of the year, after you'd done all 12 months, it added up to a full-length poem that's all about the water in our bodies and basically our blood and the water of the earth and how those things kind of link to each other. It's a beautiful poem. The other thing they did that I thought was really cool was they all through each month they had one of these blank pages, and they got a grant and made 12 different dragon tracks that were brass plates, and they put them in these on these public land spaces in 12 places from the tip top of the watershed down to the ocean, and you could take a rubbing of each dragon track with the side of a crayon. So in the book, there's a place to collect a rubbing of each crayon. So we've used that idea of rubbings in some of the quests that we've made as well, where we didn't want to leave a box with a rubber stamp or something. So for example, the Crissy Field quest, if any of you have been to Crissy Field in Golden Gate National Park, ends with you collect these letters and you learn to spell a word, and hopefully you'll forget by the time you do it. So I'll give away that the word is respect, and you find that on a big sign out overlooking the bay, and you take a rubbing of the word respect. There's a place for it in the book. So it's a nice way to get people to focus on that word and what it means in terms of our relationship with the environment. So I talked about this last time, and I just wanted to quickly talk again about the qualities of a great quest. I think you ultimately want it to be fun and challenging and solvable and artful and take you somewhere interesting. You want people, you're competing with television, you're competing with screens, you're competing with all the other things that people do, and you're trying to get people to get up, you and your kids together are trying to create something that's so enticing that it'll get people up out of off their couch and outside exploring. So it's got to be pretty good. It should have a good story that'll make people want to keep going, engaging clues. Oftentimes that human connection, is something that I just found, especially with tracking the dragon. I wish I could go meet those people because they seem so cool, and you almost feel like you get to know them as you go along. Having the treasure cleverly hidden, making them all different, that's all good. What I wanted to focus on today is how you can work with your students to create a quest that tells an engaging story without overwhelming the questers. You basically, most of the people who are going on the quest, they're probably either students and they're doing it for school, or they're doing it in their free time. It's recreation. So it can't be so hard or so complex or so difficult that they just give up. At the same time, you want to make it engaging and fun. So it's a little bit tricky to kind of come up with that balance. I think working with your students, it'll be important to think about who you're making it for. Are you making it for fourth graders, or are you making it for manic adults who are gonna be willing to go crazy? Let me just say one thing. If you look right here, this is a typical quest box that they're looking in. That's the rubber stamp pad and the little sign-in book, and they've just found that, so that's what they're looking at. One of the ways to tell an engaging story without overwhelming questers is to have really clever rhymes. If you can, and there, you could make your rhymes be in couplets, which is like AA, BB, CC, DD, or you can make them do what this set of rhymes do, which is they go AB, 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 AB. But if you can artfully add a little bit of poetry, it really keeps people listening, and it keeps people reading, and it makes it all seem just a little more playful and a little more fun. I'm just wondering if I could call on a couple people to read these out loud. And Molly, I might start with you. I'm wondering, would you be willing to just read the first two down to this line, the first two stanzas aloud for us?
Sure. Until 800 years ago, this place was healthy dune and marsh, teeming with life and watery flow. But then what happened was quite harsh. Thinking the marsh was wasted land, the army began to fill it in.
Well, I made that a little harder.
Soon burned out buildings replaced the sand, and trash was where the marsh had been.
Mm-hmm. Which is a very true story. Erica, could you read the last two?
Sure. Then in 1906, the earthquake came and turned the city to a pile of rubble. More fill for the marsh. They did proclaim and shoved it in there on the double. 9 years later, and the deed was complete when the Panama Pacific Exposition celebrated the Panama Canal's great feat on this very spot in a dried condition.
So, that, I feel as though I loved it when they wrote these. The rhymes I think are really clever. This wasn't written by children. You can probably tell this was written by interpreters, but it does a great job, I think, of telling the story. If any of you have been to Crissy Field, of what happened there. It used to be this beautiful teeming salt marsh. It became all filled. They used it as a dumping ground, especially after the earthquake and then the fires, and it all filled in. And then they were able to clear it out and recreate a marsh. So this quest tells that story, and as I already hinted, ends with the word respect after you've figured out a lot of the clues. Rhymes, in my experience, children have an easier time with rhymes and a harder time with meter. I don't know if you guys have had that experience, but it's, I feel as though they get rhymes and then they have a little bit harder time with meter. I love using a rhyming dictionary. I don't think it's cheating. I think it just inspires the mind. So I put a couple pages here that I just opened up at random. Like, I thought it was really funny, if you were trying to rhyme aulic, you would find colic, frolic, hydraulic, symbolic, chocoholic, diabolic, foodaholic, fun and frolic, sleepaholic, workaholic. So, I mean, it sort of gets you going on any different idea. Easy, breezy, cheesy, easy, queasy, sneezy, parcheesy, uneasy, zambeezy. Zambeezy's not a word. I don't know what that is. But anyway, and that can get people really thinking. So I'm wondering if we could play a little game in chat right now. So I am going to put a word in chat and invite everybody to try to rhyme, do as many as you can. Enter into chat as many words as you can to rhyme with my word. So I'm going to put, so just type in as many as, this is rapid fire brainstorming, as many as you can think of. Oh, you guys are fast. Nice. Whew. Holy cow, Erica. Nice. Wow, you guys are so good. Greet, meet, feet, heat, meet, sweet, sheet, fleet, treat, street, meet, feet, fleet, sleep, meet, peat, deet. Complete beat meet. Okay, Louisa, I'm going to invite you to do, replete, delete. Louisa, put in a new rhyme, a new word, and we'll all rhyme it. Oh, you guys are good at this. Okay, let's see how many we can think of that are polysyllabic. Let's see. Ah. Ooh, got one. Yep. Very good. So BC, can you put in a new one for us? Got it. Ooh, these are good. Let's try and do some polysyllabic, two or three syllable. Ooh, good. It's a retail time of year. Regale. I'm not sure how to spell that either. Great. So, you're getting it. let's do one more round. I just can't resist. Okay, how about Molly? Give us one more. We really should stop, but I can't. It's kind of addictive. I understand it's snowing there right now. Oh, we've got two going on. That's great. Like it looks like overthrowing the regime. Regrow. Good. So, um, you guys get the idea, and I think when I do this in person, I sometimes call it hot potato, not potato, and take an orange or something else. Oh, great. Rhyme. So, Erica, do you mind telling us about Rhyme Zone? It's basically like a rhyming dictionary?
Yes, I think, and I haven't used it in a little while because I forgot about it, but I think it's just like a rhyming dictionary. And if you don't have them, and you could go to, I think it's called rhymezone.com, and it does the same thing. You put in a word and it gives you the words and it tells you how many syllables. It's very helpful.
Yeah, that could be really helpful, I think. I find a word hippo. I've never used that. Louisa, can you tell about that? Is that an app or
Um, it's a website and it sounds just like what Erica just described.
Mhm.
It's like a rhyming dictionary, and you can put in, you can sort by how many syllables you want these words to be, and so that can be helpful if you're trying to like match multisyllabic words.
Right, yeah, which I think it's, like the fact that this book came up with chocoholic, I probably wouldn't have thought of that on my own, and it would be really fun if you were, depending on what you were trying to write about. So that sounds like a good one. Yeah. And they make grown-up versions too, and maybe the ones I don't know if the ones you guys, Erica and Louisa, are those for adults or kids?
I think Rhyme Zone might be for adults sometimes. I think if I recall, sometimes some of the words the kids just don't know. Yeah, I'll have to look again.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the one I'm obviously using here is obviously for kids, but even some of these words I'm thinking, really? I'm not sure, but the adult one I have definitely is thick and yeah, so and I'm sure same thing with website. So as I said, with hot potato, not potato, I stand people in a circle. It's a lot better outside, but you don't want to break things, or you could do a Nerf ball inside, and just somebody starts and tosses it and says regrow, and the next person says hippo, and so and it just you sort of keep it going until they can't think of one, and then the person who threw it, the one they can't think of, gets to think of a new one, or however you want to do it, and just keep tossing it around. It's just like, nice because it gets people physically up and moving. Another thing that I think uh, really helps to make quests exciting is meter. And as I said, I just think it's a lot harder. People struggle with this. So it's even sometimes it's even harder to read them out loud and that kind of thing. Let's see, BC, can you read the first stanza of this one?
What draws so many to this place? What drew you here yourself, my friend? Was it search for adventure or history? You'll find both in our quest from beginning to end.
That's not quite perfect, but it's sort of close. Let's see, Judy, can you read the middle one? I don't know if Judy's doing this with us. Louisa, can you read the middle one?
Yeah, somebody else will have to do it.
Oh, that's okay, Louisa.
Okay. Please follow our map to each number in turn. Each stop has a fun story to tell. While there, collect the letters you need. Fill in the blanks and see what they spell.
And the last one, begin at the fireplace in the lodge. Feast your eyes on its handsome rocks. Then wander and ramble and figure things out until you come to our treasure box. It's so fun. This one was written by a group of teachers at a questing workshop, and they were all, as you looked around at them, you could see people going, everyone was sort of trying to get the rhythm just to work. I'll say that if you look at what this little girl has in her hand, the the questing book, so the hardcover version or what what am I trying to say, paper version as opposed to the online version, has this sheet and for your stamps. So as you go around to each box, it's a place you can collect your stamps as you go. And she obviously just got her first one, which is really exciting. And then she, I'm sure, had her own personal stamp that she left in the box. So that's nice too. Um, I'm wondering, as you think about meter, think about a Mother Goose rhyme or any other rhyme, something that you could say a couple lines of. And I'm wondering if you could put that in the and put that in the chat. So what's one that you know? While you're thinking, I'll just say, I think to your point, Louisa, I think it's nice to mix it up and not just have everything be couplets. I think doing the ABAB can be a nice difference. Yeah. So limericks. Ooh, what happens? There was an old man with a beard. Is that one you know? Can you share it?
Yep. Yep. He said it was just as I feared. What, 2 owls and a wren, 3 larks and a hen have all built their nest in my beard.
That's a good one. Yeah. Another, well, who else knows one? His woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer. One thing that I think makes it easier to memorize poems is that meter. It just, your whole body feels it and you begin to it pulls you through. I don't know if you've ever tried to memorize free verse, but I find it much harder to memorize than metered verse that just sort of pulls you along. Anybody else have one that you think has some meter that you like and know? Casey at the bat. Erica, do you know enough to say a line or two?
No, but I'd read it with my students.
Yeah.
And I did memorize it at one point a long time ago, but I can't really remember.
Yeah.
No, I can't. I can't.
Yeah. I wonder if someone else does. Gina, surprises are like poppy spread. You see, oh, that's beautiful. Wow. Do you know who wrote that, Gina? That's beautiful. Surprises are like poppies spread. You seize the flower, its bloom is shed, or like the snow falls in the river, a moment there, then melts forever. That's nice. I'm just reading it aloud because in the video people can't see the chat. I don't think so. That's really pretty. Um, so in addition to meter, there's the question of how many tadas. So if you say, I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree, that's iambic quatrameter, right? Because they're 4. So I think that I shall never see. It's 4 tadums, right? A poem as lovely as a tree. So we've got 4 tadums. Who can think of one that has either 3 or 5? I've got hickory dickory dock, the mouse ran up the clock. I think that's iambic no, how do you say 3? I'm not sure I know the right word for that. It's not a common poetry thing. It's that human breath is about the right length for iambic quatrameter or iambic pentameter. So basically 4 tadas or 5 tadas. And that's why a lot of them are like that. So surprises are like poppy spread. Molly, nice. Shall I? Can you, how many do you think is in that one? Can you say more of it?
Oh, maybe the first 2. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art far more fair and more temperate. I think it's an iambic pentameter.
Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Yeah, 5. Yeah, that is iambic pentameter. I find that kids have hard time with the whole idea. They get clapping because they know Mother Goose, but trying to both rhyme the ends and come up with the meter in the middle can be hard. I wonder if any of you have had good luck teaching your kids to try to write poems that are, I mean, that are compelling in this way. And what the reason it's worth it is that they pull the reader along. So if you can pull it off, they're really attractive. But they are kind of hard to do. Share that I saw a teacher who was really good at it. And what she did is she lined her kids all up along, they were maybe like fifth grade or so, fourth or fifth grade, I think. She had them all lined up along the whiteboard. And every kid was doing their poem on the whiteboard, and they were so much more comfortable erasing, and she could see it all. So she could easily look over each kid's shoulder and help them as it went along and help them to be successful. So I thought that was an interesting way. And they were all, sort of, you could see them all sort of clapping and that kind of thing. So I just want to create an opening in case anyone wants to put in chat anything you've had, any successes you've had with teaching kids about rhyme or meter. And if you think of them, feel free to put them in. I'm just going to go through a couple more things. In terms of quest telling an engaging story without overwhelming, sparking imagination is really important. Getting people to imagine something that, just as with any kind of storytelling, to imagine something that they might not have thought of otherwise. So in the Muir Woods quest, welcome to Muir Woods National Monument today, a place for all tree lovers to walk and to play. Discover the redwood forest through this fun quest. At the end of your journey hides a small treasure quest. I think that it lets you know that there's going to be a treasure chest, so you can't wait to keep going. And as you go, you just think about these gigantic trees, which are so fascinating and beautiful. Muir Woods is a national park, and you can get this quest, at least you could last time I was there. I don't know since COVID, but right when you check in, when you pay your fee at the entry, you can get a quest there. And then I think stories, as it spark the imagination and keep people moving and thinking. So I wonder if I can just get you guys help reading aloud one more time from the Crawford Notch quest. This is a notch in New Hampshire. And I'm wondering, Molly, if I could hit you up to read this first one for us, the first stanza.
The governor knew the challenge was tough and asked for a test run through the site. Ride a horse through the cliffs, then yours is the grant to build for our state a fine turnpike.
This is a true story. So basically, that the interpreter came and told them this amazing story, this craggy mountain thing. The governor said, if you can get a horse through it, then I'll give you the money and you can have a road to your town. And so it was this pretty exciting thing that happened. That's sort of a pretty big part of their history. So I'm just wondering if I can ask UBC to, oops, I'm going backwards, to read the next one, A Path.
A path that was rough yet passable, the good pioneers did surely make, and so to the land there came a road. This was the claim that they did stake.
And now, as you can plainly see, the highway through the notch is true. The moose believes the trail's for them, yet the elephant knows it's 302. Have any of you ever been to this part of New Hampshire? No, it's beautiful. I know your mountains are big and all, but it's exciting in its own way. And then here's a kid version, I think, of that I think works pretty well, of telling a story. A snapping turtle lived here all year long. The Crea land is where he belongs. Two pink worm-like wigglers on his tongue lure prey into where it's not much fun. So, it's not, it obviously doesn't have the sophistication of one written by adults, but it's real. You can really picture the fact, and they clearly learned that fact, that snapping turtles have these two wigglers on their tongue, and that's how they get their prey. They do a great job of telling the fact, I think. And then just useful facts, which is another way that you can keep people going. This is a national park, Marsh Billings Rockefeller, which is focused, it's the only national park in the U.S. National Park system that focuses on the history of conservation. And so it's nice here, as you can read, they're just telling about the fact that they used to have these elaborate greenhouses and grow these, crazy roses in winter, and now they've really focused much more on, sustainability and all that kind of thing. So it's a nice, useful facts that help you learn about stewardship and sustainability. This is another example of useful facts in this kid-made quest. On your left, red oak, white pine, white birch. You'll see that one, they didn't quite get the meter. The white birch is the New Hampshire state tree. So this was made by fourth graders, and they do all the state, trees and that kind of thing. So this was, a nice example of them teaching an important fact. I wanted to take us on a quest that, whoa, why am I having so much trouble? I wanted to take us on a quest that's made in Talkeetna, and just share it with you. This was made by a group of teachers at a quest making workshop a few years ago. It's called the Talkeetna Why Here quest. So I'll let you read this first part. I like that the intro, it says, or ask a local, or, and learning about Talkeetna from the insider's perspective. I don't know. I'm assuming a lot of you have been to Talkeetna probably, and you probably know that it gets really overrun with tourists. And then they all sort of leave, and they actually have a parade to celebrate having their town back to themselves. But, I think that they're, excited to be able to share the town in this way, through making a quest. So we're not going to read all this aloud, but I wanted to give you a minute to look at it. And this, as I said, this would be an example of a quest made by adults in order to teach. There are a number of things I really like about the signs, about this quest. As you can see, it's got these tidbits. So, who knew that in 1964 it was the first link from Talkeetna to the Alaska highway system? But then they have these kid bits, which I think are really cool. And this whole idea that if you grew up along the railway, you'd flag down the passing train to travel up or down the tracks. And the hurricane turned train will drop you off at a remote cabin or pick you up. And imagine living out in the bush. Would you enjoy riding the train to see your friends? So they're trying to, through these little green and blue boxes, trying to speak to different audiences, so that if you were a parent, you'd probably focus on the kid bits. But there's some pretty amazing facts. There are over 50 people that actually live outside of Talkeetna and up the tracks, which is kind of cool. Another thing I really wanted to kind of call your attention to about this quest is that I like that it's teaching both Indigenous history, natural history, contemporary history, natural history. It's got sort of a lot of things going on. It's dense, and it might be more attractive if they had a little bit fewer words. But I think the words are, are interesting, and it's well written. So that's nice. I also liked, they're sort of like, here's stop one, go to the sign, let's move. Movement clue. So it's like a teaching clue, let's move, movement clue. So they really differentiate those so that people can figure out where they're going. A couple more here. I'll just let you look at it for a minute. A lot of nice facts about the national park, which is obviously a key part of life in Talkeetna. The first bathtub in Talkeetna that was available for hourly rental. Unusual fact. So they kind of got it all in here. And then I think this is the last page. So as you've been going along, this folds into a brochure. And as you've been going along, you're collecting these clues. Things like look at this sign that above the double black entrance, how many letters, the second word on the sign, that kind of thing. And you put all these words together to spell their special zip code. So that's the Talkeetna zip code that you're actually spelling out as you go, which is kind of fun. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about as you think about teaching questing, and we started to talk about this last time as well. What questions do you have? And maybe if each person could put one question in chat about um, how you might go about doing this with your class, and what you'd like to make sure that we cover in the next session on questing, which is in February. So I feel as though I'm giving this very big overview, and I want to make sure to help it be that so that you could actually teach it. So if you could pop a question into chat that you'd either like us to talk about right now, um, or things I could cover in the next session, that'd be great. And then also, just I'm interested in ways you see that you might incorporate questing into your teaching. What subjects might you use questing to teach? That kind of thing. So thanks a lot, Erica. Erica says, I would love for my fourth graders to create a quest for younger students, maybe on our school campus. What else could it be? That's awesome. Yeah, I've actually seen that work really well. Where fourth graders become, they're so knowledgeable, and I've seen one quest that actually, it takes them to the nurse's office and the flagpole and that kind of stuff, and I saw one where you get a prize at the end. I'm not sure, you got one of the school pencils, but I kind of like the idea that the motivation isn't the prize, the motivation is, just the discovery, that kind of thing. But I think that obviously the challenge there is going to be for the fourth graders to write at a younger student reading level, or they could be interpreters. The fourth graders could, read it aloud and take them on the quest too. I wonder if people have thoughts about how Erica could do that successfully. Molly and Louisa, I know you guys are both really good at this, and how you might have an older class make quest with the target audience being younger kids. While you're thinking about that, I can share the way I knew one second grade teacher did it. The second graders actually made the quest. She had every kid in the whole class make a map of this site. They put the maps up all the way around the room, and then they walked in a carousel, and you had to say one thing you liked about each map, one thing that worked about each map. And then for the final version, they divided out and they made a map team, a clue team, a cover team, playing to kids' strengths, and the map team could draw on the best qualities of all the maps. So everyone felt like they had ownership, nobody felt insulted, and they ended up with a good map that was pretty readable, so it was a kind of a nice way to do it. I don't know, I'm just picking on you guys, Molly and Louisa, maybe that's not fair, but I wonder if you guys have thoughts about how, if you were to do it, how you might pair a younger class with an older class. Louisa's saying, is there something about your campus that second graders would be interested to learn? And your fourth graders could create the quest for them to learn it. Cool. Yeah, that's a nice idea. I mean, this is a little different from that, but I know that, I know in one school, the outgoing sixth graders made a quest for the incoming, because sixth graders are going up to different school for seventh grade. They made a quest for no, that isn't right. It was going to be, for the fifth graders who were it was a fifth, sixth grade school. So kids who are going to be new at the school, the outgoing students made a quest for them to learn about the school. But that's not quite as, Erica, I don't know if anything comes to mind for you for some special secret that the fourth graders could teach the second graders that isn't going to be breaking rules.
Right. Yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, I definitely like the idea of just learning about the different parts of the school and who to go to for different questions and things like that. I've only been at the school a couple of years, so I don't know a lot about the history of the school, so I might have to get help from people who've been there longer. Maybe they know some special secrets.
Yeah. How to get into the boiler room. No, you probably don't want to teach them that kind of stuff. But I like that idea of just the basic things you should know, because not every kid does know where the nurse's office is or that kind of stuff. Nice. I'm wondering, BC, does anything come to mind for you or anyone else about ways that you might think about incorporating questing into some units that you're already doing? If not, that's okay. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm kindergarten this year, and we're just sort of holding on to sitting at carpet without beating on each other still. It's been a very rough year. So no, we're not really questing yet, but next year I hope I'm going to go back up higher grades, and maybe I'll add some in.
Well, I'm super glad you're here, and hopefully we're giving you hope as you help your kindergartners hang on to their seats. So, and thanks for all you're doing, all of you teachers. It's so hard what you do. Let's see, Erica's in California, and so they study Californian history, and she's wondering if they could create a quest with facts about California. Yeah, and I also can send you some links of the quests. You know, I've mentioned Muir Woods and the Chrissy Field and some of the other California quests that I'm aware of. I don't where are you in California?
I'm in Thousand Oaks, Ventura County, so
Yeah.
just next to Los Angeles County.
Yeah. Okay. So not I don't know of quests down there, but there might be some. So I could try to find out. Yeah. Good.
Erica, I was wondering if like if you talk to the second grade teacher and maybe there's curriculum that they have to learn that, you know, your fourth graders could find a way to teach them in a fun way. And
They've already learned it.
yeah,
Right.
and
That's
maybe they're learning like deeper level in fourth grade, you know, so it kind of reinforces what they need to learn too.
that's a good idea.
Yeah. And so then you've got the content experts and the questing experts, and they collaborate. Oh, that's interesting. Molly's saying that for spiraling standards, this might be especially relevant. Molly, do you want to say us a word about that?
Sure, yeah, that kind of dovetails off what Louisa was just saying. So, you know, if they're learning about their local community in the second grade, you know, their immediate community, and then in the fourth grade, it's more at the state level, which it often is in many states. You know, the fourth graders need to sort of refresh that foundational community information before they scaffold up to the state level. So it could be a great way to reframe that in their minds, to have them teach the younger kids about it, and then they're moving up toward the more state level, which could lead itself to another quest for them as well.
Mm-hmm. Be really cool. Um, and I guess we've been talking about this already. This is actually the railroad bridge out of Talkeetna that we were talking about that leads up to where the 50 homes are. This is a view down off the railroad bridge. Kind of a cool picture, I think. So maybe you could just type into chat either for this year or in future years anything you could imagine that you might be able to use questing as a way to cover. And I think we've sort of gotten at this, but I just want to invite if there's something, whether it might not be this year, but there might be something you could see yourself doing. Gina, I'm wondering for you, does it feel as though, is there anything that makes particular you could imagine using questing to do something that you're already having to do? I'm calling on some people who are busy with other things, so that's fine. So then let me I know we're just about down, actually we're no minutes left. I'd be very happy, let's see. Oh, Luis is wondering if someone could make a math quest teaching geometry concepts. I'm sure they could. And if anyone, it's you. Oh, Gina's saying she could do PE. Yeah, very much so. In fact, there are bicycling quests and canoeing quests, and there's a quest that goes on a very low level bouldering area. So I think that's a great idea. You could definitely do that, which would be really cool. If you have any questions at all as you go about thinking about this, I hope you'll feel free to be in touch with me. This book is available. You can buy it used on Amazon for tiny amounts of money. You know how it is these days. And it's not as cool as the Czech one I showed you at the beginning, much nicer version. This is my personal email address, and you can also write to iTrekAlaska, both at gmail.com. And so if you have any questions, please be in touch. I know some of you have signed up for the one UAA credit, and we'll be in touch with you soon to kind of consolidate that and talk about trying to find a time that we could get together and have a meeting. If you know anyone else who's looking for UAA credit, there's still time to sign up right now. I think through December, maybe into early January, I'm not sure. So so then we can have more of a cohort. These are a few that are coming up on January 11th. We'll do nature journaling on January 27th, history of the Iditarod National Historic Trail. February 1st is going to be all about how to use reflection in place-based learning. And we'll do the last questing section on February 17th, and I'll talk more specifically about some of the research and techniques that we've done. So please tell your fellow teachers who've got a little bit of bandwidth left at the end of the day, and look forward to seeing you on future sessions. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.